Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Lankford.
So 50 years after the Yom Kippur War, and right at the moment when all of the normalization conversation was happening between Saudi Arabia and Israel is at its peak, that's when Hamas decides to attack. Literally, we have the Abraham Accords moving now with Morocco, with UAE and Bahrain, continued engagement there, normalization in the region, and Hamas determines that this is against their self-interests, and they literally slaughter 1,400 individuals to try to deter all of that dialogue. We not only stand with Israel, but we stand with the civilized world that would say this kind of brutality, simply because someone is Jewish, is not only heinous and horrible, but should be deplorable to everyone in the world, regardless of your faith, background, community, or country that you're from. We're speaking out not only for Israel and its right to be able to defend themselves, but we're also speaking out for truth and for facts. 24 hours ago, a hospital was hit in Gaza. Around 500 civilians lost their lives senselessly, and immediately Hamas and nations around the region announced that it was Israel as an airstrike that killed all those individuals. The meetings with Biden were canceled because of that. But now, as the facts come out, and as we've been able to note and to be able to show authoritatively, that was actually a misguided rocket shot from inside Gaza towards civilians in Israel that actually hit civilians in Gaza. That was not an Israeli airstrike. I would call on all of the nations around the world that called out Israel for that strike to immediately change their statement and to be able to call out Hamas for that strike against that hospital, and to be able to let their own people know this is what is happening with these heinous acts of terrorism and with the violence that Hamas is actually bringing. And one last comment. While we're saddened and grieved and overwhelmed by 31 Americans that have died and 1,400 Israelis and countless number of civilians in the area, we also should be keenly aware that 9/11 occurred with 20 individuals in the United States that were illegally present in the United States that we did not account for, and they carried out those heinous acts of terrorism here. In the past 2 years, on our southern border, 70,000 individuals have crossed and been released into our country that were identified by DHS as what they call special interest aliens. These are high-risk individuals coming from Iran, from Iraq, from Syria, and other nations. They've crossed our southern border and been released into the United States, awaiting their hearing. We have no idea where they are. 70,000. These are individuals that came between the ports of entry and got into our country even after their identification as a special interest alien. The Biden administration needs to take seriously not only what's happening in Israel, and we are glad to be able to stand alongside our ally Israel, but we should take seriously the lessons that should have been learned from 9/11 for our own border, that we will not have an insecure border that is ignored from the real threats that are coming across. This administration needs to shut down that border and needs to be able to pursue all those special interest aliens currently in our country, to have them not currently roaming free in our nation.
Thank you. Senator Fisher.